Entertaining, inspiring, and sometimes quite annoying. This is how some of us perceive influencers on social media. What accounts for their popularity? How are they transforming our lives online and offline? Are influencers nothing more than millennials who have perfected the art of taking the perfect selfies? Let's unpack this issue in this episode of Meet the Millennials. Joining our conversation is Jericho Arceo, a YouTuber, Miggy Azurin, Managing Partner of Husky Digital, and Julius Leonen, the Head of Manila Public Information Office. So welcome, gentlemen, and since we are millennials, we are here in Poblacion in Commune Cafe. So I hope you're enjoying your coffee. Of course, when we talk about influencers, parang may impression na ano ba yan, ang babaw, ano ba yung pakialam ng mundo sa influencers. But I think the term itself has power, right? To have influence is to actually have power.
Yes.
So I think we have to get to the heart of these issues. So I'll turn to Miggy first, because there are industry standards of defining an influencer, and I just learned this recently, that we have macro influencers, people on social media who have 500,000 and above followers. Then we have mid-influencers who have 100,000 to 500,000 followers. And the surprising thing for me is that there are micro-influencers, people who have 10 to 100,000 followers. So help me out, help me work this out as someone who works in digital marketing. Is being an influencer just about the numbers? What makes an influencer influential?
Okay. So at its core, influencers create content around certain topics, and people follow them for these, certain topics. So for example, if you're a fashion influencer, you create content around what you're wearing or what are the latest trends, and typically your audience follows you for the advice that you give or the wisdom that you share. And the influencing happens is when they work with brands or when they work with outside organizations to try to convince their audience to take action in whatever way that is.
And of course, we did our own research with the use of influencers during the midterm elections. And one of the questions we always get asked is, magkano ba ang bayad sa influencer? Can being an influencer be a full-time job? What's the reality here?
At the onset, yes. If you really take your influencing seriously, you really can make a decent living out of it. But it's very sporadic, right? It's not as consistent as some people perceive it to be. And there's a lot of work that goes into it. It's not just posting and smiling and waiting for brands to come on board, right? The more profitable influencers have been doing it for quite some time, and they really have a strong following to back that up.
And of course, we have the perfect example here in the form of Jericho. And I think one of the reasons why I find your channel really fascinating is you're quite different. You're promoting Kapampangan culture on YouTube, right? But I think earlier when we were discussing this, you said hindi ka masyadong comfortable sa label na influencer. You prefer the term content creator. Why?
Initially po, I really started, yung focus ko lang po was just to create content and not to persuade someone to, follow me or anything. This is just what I feel about a certain topic, Kapampangan per se. And I think, totoo po yun, the influence comes after. You didn't choose it, and it just comes after. But my initial focus was just to create content. It's just a hobby. It was therapeutic for me kasi ang occupation ko po talaga noon, that time was being a teacher. So this was just making fun of my own culture.
Right.
Yeah.
And do you think this is a full-time job for you now?
Well, as of now, the invisible doors have opened for me. So I try to walk into those doors, but I don't see myself, being here forever. So, I'm making the most out of it, trying to give, value-adding content to people, and it's really a struggle. You get lost in the middle. You need people to put you back into place.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, we would be remiss not to think about one of the biggest influencers on social media today, who's probably not a millennial. Correct me if I'm wrong, Julius. But we're talking about your mayor, right? Mayor Isko Moreno. And Julius, of course, works with Mayor Isko Moreno with the Public Information Office in Manila. And you started working with him nung kampanya pa lang,
Yes
diba?
po, and the public relations team of the mayor when he was a candidate were all millennials and Gen Z. Ang gusto po talaga ni Mayor kasi na magpapatakbo ng kanyang kampanya noon was young blood talaga eh. So he can easily connect through us with the new generation of voters.
But what's the idea there na parang nagpe-Facebook live kayo parate, magaling si Mayor, magpa-selfie? Some critics would probably say that's not uplifting the character of politics in the Philippines, right? I disagree, but I'd like to hear your thoughts.
Well, the mayor, during his first day sa administration, signed Executive Order Number 1, which adopts the open governance policy sa City of Manila, which means lahat po ng official meetings namin, public events, bidding activities, so on and so forth, naka-Facebook Live po. So our citizens are able to watch or view kung ano man po yung ginagawa namin sa City Hall. This is our way, this is our approach to the very powerful tool of social media. Kasi number one, libre ang social media. Right. You don't even have to spend millions of pesos just to put out your videos or your materials.
Oh, but it takes millions of pesos to hire trolls, ah.
Yeah.
Oh, we don't hire
Yeah.
trolls. We don't hire trolls. Pero ayun po, lahat po ng content namin kasi sa Facebook is organic.
Organic means what, maybe?
You just post it and you don't boost it or you don't run any paid advertisements.
Right. And why does it matter to you as a YouTuber, Jericho, that your content is followed by organic followers? Ano bang ibig sabihin nun?
Na authentic, they are entertained or they are uplifted, they are educated or moved by emotions. Dahil sa content mo, wala kang binayaran para mas spread out content mo. Talagang organic na tumatak lang sa kanila yung the content you created. So,
Because a big part of it is authenticity, right?
yeah. And
why does that matter? Maybe.
Well, in this day and age now, you have so many sources of information, and it's really hard to see now who's faking it or who's not faking it, right? And we were just discussing earlier that a typical influencer now, sometimes you can't tell if it's a paid advertisement or they're really just referring the brand. And that's the challenge, getting people on the influencer side to be as authentic with their recommendations as possible. They're not just saying good things just because they were paid to. They really do enjoy the product or the service. And at the same time, for the regular consumer to be aware that these influencers, they do have a job, right, which is to create content around certain topics. And like Jericho said earlier, eventually you really will get to a point where you will attract brands because you command this kind of attention.
So of course, aside from influencers having power, there's also a dark side to having this influence. So when we return, we're going to talk about the issues faced by influencers and their audiences. Please stay tuned. You're still watching Meet the Millennials here on CNN Philippines, and we're talking about influencers or content creators, para umaasar sa akin si Jericho. So, of course, influencers face a lot of issues. Recently, mga na-expose yung ibang influencers na bumibili ng followers. There's a call-out culture in social media. So I remember some it girls posing in front of the Tiananmen Square, wearing communist caps, and they were really lynched online, called out for their political incorrectness. So, of course, it's not easy to have a lot of following. I assume that's the case, Jericho. So what is the dark side of being part of this big industry?
I can't speak for every influencer, but I think one common denominator is, as you said, influence is power, and power can corrupt, right? Whoever you put up there, whatever moral foundation you have, if you're by yourself, you're gonna get lost there. Who's gonna put you back into place? And definitely not yourself. So I do believe na minsan the term na lalaking ulo, or when you started, your motivation was pure, but along the way you got, it's because it's real. There's next level demons when your when your sphere of influence gets bigger. Indeed, mas solid dapat responsibility mo, because it's truly a responsibility. Honestly, for me, everything was just fast, so I adjusted big time kasi I'm not used to kids telling me that, just making videos na impact ko yung life nila. I didn't have that before. So how do you deal with that? And of course, the criticism. No, you have to filter the bashers and the constructive criticism, all that. So for me, one issue is I have to be careful, I have to be responsible, I have to be educated, and at the same time, I have to be real. I have to be authentic.
And even when you're feeling pain, you also
Exactly.
have to be...
Yeah.
Because you have this post about mahirap talaga maging people pleaser, right?
Yeah.
So grabe yung hugot nun.
Real talk po, kasi honestly, it's part of the territory. I can't say no, hindi, huwag kang maging people pleaser. It's part of your job. What do the people want to hear, but also, what do they need to hear? Because sometimes, it's just, nandun ka lang sa extreme na, okay, ito yung gusto nyo, I lose myself. And then, wala na. I'm burnt out, I became a people pleaser, nawala na yung dati kong gutom. Because I tried to please the crowd. So that's a challenge, no? So for me, I need my mentors, my leaders, my inner core to tell me na, mali ka na dyan. Okay. Kasi kung walang ganun, who's gonna tell you you're wrong?
Right.
Right.
And you're obviously open to constructive criticism.
Of course, right? Even if you do the right things, there's gonna be criticism. So it's part of it.
I remember also on the part of the audience, right? So parang influencers think about how many people like them, but it also maps on people on Facebook, on Instagram, and that's why Instagram has a move to remove the number of likes, diba? So people stop feeling a bit more self-conscious. But I think the context is different when you're in charge of the city of Manila. Ang laking responsibilidad nito.
Yes po.
What's the experience like?
Well, at first, we really didn't expect it to be this big. Yung engagements na nakuha namin, yung likes na nakuha naman sa social media. On the first day of the Dumagos administration, the official Facebook page of the mayor only has like 500,000 likes. Right now, we're at 1.8 million, nearing 2
Mega
million.
influencer na si Mayor.
Kaya, on our part, we think we see it as a success on the part of the communications part of the local government. Kasi how many Millennials are there in the city? There are about 1.8 million nighttime, 3 million naman population kapag daytime. So the fact na we already got 1.8 million sa Facebook, it means more Millennials are now engaged with the local government. They are now more empowered to be good citizens as suggested or as recommended by the local government. They are empowered to clean their streets, to clean their communities, to follow the footsteps of what the mayor is setting po sa Manila.
But what sorts of criticisms do you receive online?
Ito. Well, sige. marami. Pero I can give two good examples. Kasi ito ay accountability sa part namin. During his early months, around July po, nag-issue ng order si Mayor na lahat ng names ng politicians sa lahat ng public schools tatanggalin kasi that's EPAL But then again, a private company donates a Wi-Fi booth in front of the City Hall for citizens to enjoy free Wi-Fi. Yun nga lang ang pangalan ng Wi-Fi booth is disconnect. So people were saying, akala ko ba anti-EPAL ka. Then bakit disconnect yung pangalan? Ang response namin is, that's the prerogative po kasi ng private sector. Although, as part of our open governance policy, we are mandated to listen to the criticism. So we urge the private company po na palitan po, na gawin na lang po MNL Connect instead of Disconnect. Yeah. The criticism during that time was really harsh.
But you responded to it well, and you mentioned accountability as a way of listening to what your constituents are saying.
Another example is yung time na masakit yung bagang ni Mayor. Pinost, nag-live video kasi siya nung habang inooperahan yung bagang niya. Masakit yung ngipin niya. And then people were like, bakit mo pinupost yan? EPAL ka? For 2022 ba to? Why are you displaying this kind of PR daw? When in fact, we're just parang having fun on social media, but people took it negatively.
Right.
So, para sa amin, since local government kami, kailangan may image kami pinoportray na ganito dapat kami. So, natuto kami na for future posts or any kind of parang publicity, maging careful lang kami sa pinapublish namin.
Nag-Facebook Live ka na ba, Jericho, nang tinatanggalan ka ng bagang or something? Hindi pa naman. But of course, okay, so we've covered the side of the influencer, the side of government. Miggy, I would be remiss not to ask about the role of digital marketing here. Personally, my discomfort with some influencers is that when I look at their accounts, I don't know if that influencer is being paid by a company to talk about that makeup. Medyo iffy ako dun. Where is my discomfort coming from, and what are you guys doing about it?
Okay. I think the discomfort is really just coming from the fact that more social media users are aware, right, that these influencers can and are typically paid by companies to endorse their products. And Jericho mentioned it earlier that we're really craving for authenticity, right? And that's something that we're starting to demand from our influencers or our public figures. In the digital marketing side, many of my other colleagues or many other agencies in the industry are also becoming a little bit more sensitive with the kinds of influencers that they engage with and how they use these influencers. Because before, right, like one example, typically an agency or a brand will hire just based on your number of followers, right? When the industry was a little bit younger, that was the only conversation. But now there are things like, oh, what are their advocacies, right? What's their engagement rate like, right? What topics do they specialize in? You're seeing that the industry is maturing, and we're also increasing the I guess like the standards of which we base our influencers on.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I mean, the industry is maturing, but I guess the question is, are viewers also maturing? Is the way we consume content also maturing? So when we return, we will continue this conversation. Lots more to learn. So stay tuned here at Meet the Millennials. Welcome back. You're still watching Meet the Millennials. This is the final segment. Sobrang bilis.
Yeah. Wow.
But I think for this segment, let's just talk about the role of citizens, of audiences, your followers, and consumers, right? Kasi hindi yun masyadong napapag-usapan. So let's start with a puzzle. What do you want, Jericho, your audiences to take away from the content that you create?
Well, as of now, I want them to, like what Nate said, my good friend, always value adding. And before, honestly, when your motive is to get 100,000 subscribers and that silver plate to that gold plate, the accolades, it's really nice. However, if you see a life change, even just one, I think that's much heavier than what I planned for myself. So I think if my followers' lives are changed, that's okay for me. That's my trophy. More than getting 1 million or, the accolades and all. I have nothing against that. In fact, pinaghirapan nila yun eh. But a life change, how do you buy that? That for me, that hits home.
Can I be slightly annoying on this topic? And I'll turn this to you, of course. I'm sorry, I'm not picking on you, but you are from the industry, right? So there's this view na hindi ba inuutulang naman tayo ng influencers? Pinaganda nyo lang naman yung pangalan.
Okay. I know where that's coming from. I see it also from a consumer perspective, but I can kind of validate that. Especially the influencers who take it really seriously, that they really think about what they say and they really work and collaborate with the brand.
I mean, to look that beautiful takes so many lights.
Oh, yeah, no,
lots of contouring, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
But this dynamic, it's nothing new. We used to we still follow celebrities for the same reason, that when they endorse something, because we're aligned in terms of values, we want to subscribe to that product also. It's just that the opportunity to do that has just grown exponentially, that anyone with a camera and something really nice to say can build a following also, right? So I see that side of the industry also, where it's really curated and it's almost really close to fake. But I also see the side where it's very authentic, where the influencers that we engage with really do mean to endorse these products for the benefits that they give. Right?
So how can we be better consumers of content online?
Okay, I think it's really just being informed. I like to tell my clients now that the information available, right, is power, right? And that power right now is with the average consumer. The average consumer now is smarter, wiser, right? More thrifty than ever before, and that's because of information available. So, look at your influencers, look at the products that they're subscribing to, but at the end of the day, it's still up to you to inform yourself better and make a better decision based on you, right?
And of course, we have to talk about the role of the citizens in this. Can I share to you what really scares me about Mayor Isko? And that is building a major following of adoring supporters. For a democracy, that's scary. We have to have a critical and collaborative relationship with our politicians. So, okay, mega influencer na si Yorme. What's the end game here? What do you expect from citizens when you do that online?
Well, sa part namin kasi, considered influencer si Mayor, but we'd like to, ayaw namin isipin na influencer siya, pero hindi naman makukubli yung yung dami ng followers niya sa Facebook, sa YouTube, na napakaraming views. Sa amin kasi, it's not just about kung ilan yung followers, it's also the quality of the content that we publish. People like it raw, na-observe namin, kaya we usually publish live videos of his inspections, surprise inspections, surprise visits, routine meetings with department heads. Ang gusto naming mapulot ng aming mga constituents is yung aral na kailangan na talaga na i-uplift ang Maynila kasi it's the nation's capital, pero ba't ganito yung estado? So we keep repeating our talking points na magkaisa tayo, magtulungan tayo. So what we want is an empowered citizenship. They can support, they can criticize us. Criticism is actually good for good governance, for local governance, because it shows that hindi lang sila nakikriticize for nothing. We'd like to believe that they criticize because they love their country, they love their fellow countrymen, they want us to be better public servants. So, yung mga criticism na dumadating sa amin, keep it coming. Kasi from that, we can learn how to be better public servants and how we can be a better local government for Manilans.
Well, that sounds very good. So I think we're at the tail end of the program. So final thoughts, Miggy, would you like to start?
Great. In terms of influencers, I think it's here to stay. Especially since you have all of these newer platforms coming up, you're really bound to attract people who want to create content and eventually attract influence and partnerships with brands. For aspiring influencers, just create responsibly, right? And of course, for consumers, like I mentioned earlier, it's still about knowing when to buy and when not to buy, and also informing yourself of the benefits of a product that you first saw with your influencers.
Right. And Jericho?
To be honest, he said it all, but I agree. Aspiring influencers and influencers up to date, we need to create responsibly, and responsibility is a thing we need to uphold because power is also in the form of like what we do, influence. So, and I encourage we should influence the young generation for the good because sila rin naman kinabukasan eh. And mapapalitan din ako, honestly. So, equip other people as well.
Yes. And finally, Julius.
Sabi na nila lahat eh. Pero, ang masasabi ko lang about the topic about influencers is we carry a lot of weight, a lot of responsibility. Every word we say, isang maling salita lang, it can change someone's life for the worse or for the better. So I think dapat i-focus natin ang sarili natin as so-called influencers, content creators, marketers, or what. For the good of everyone, dapat maging sensitive tayo sa ating mga sinasabi. Dapat well-researched, well-informed ang ating mga opinions so as to not cause chaos or to increase public anxiety. Kasi iba talaga ang social media, napaka-volatile ng field na yan. One wrong word, tapos mag-viral ka sa Twitter, people calling you out, people bashing you. Minsan, kapag maling context lang na nasabi, magkakaroon ng uproar. So, as much as possible, we want to create a harmony sa social media. That tayo tulungan for the better good, or for a better world.
That's a fantastic way to end it. I can sense all the hugots in this table. But thank you, gentlemen, for spending time with us here in Meet the Millennials. And of course, thank you to Commune for hosting this conversation. I'm Nicole Corrado. Thank you for watching Meet the Millennials.